Hello, everyone. This is Michelle Bradford, and I am back again with another episode. So, if you are new to my channel, please go and subscribe, and share. Go into my real conversation, real motivation um, playlist and check out some of my previous podcast topics. So, let me tell you a little bit about my channel. This channel here is all about diving into real conversations about life, sharing powerful testimonies and messages. I am your host, Michelle Bradford, and every week I will bring you refreshing topics and provide you with practical motivation. And I hope that something on this podcast gives you a dose of positivity and will help you navigate through life's challenges. So, whether you are dealing with past trauma or trying to find resolutions to issues or simply need a encouraging word, you are in the right place. So, don't forget to go over and subscribe. I am on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, but I am focusing on YouTube right now with my content. And so I hope and pray that something I says resonate with you. So today's topic, you guys, is all about boundaries. Just plain and simple. You are important. Your thoughts, your feelings, and the things that you've gone through are important. And so if someone is stepping on something or your beliefs or something that that's really you hold to your heart and somebody is stepping on that, you can express yourself and it's okay to express yourself with your boundaries. So many of us avoid setting boundaries because you don't want to deal with the challenges or the awkwardness of the other person. So sometimes we may feel guilty of setting boundaries or asking for something. So feeling guilty is understandable, but however, setting boundaries can lead to bigger problems. Unfortunately, you can lose friendships, people will stop talking to you. It is one of those things. But boundaries are important for several reasons. So they create a healthy relationship, clearing expectations. Boundaries protect us from being hurt, being taken advantage of, and ensure that our energy and money and things like that um, are held to us in a higher regard. Um, and so it's very, very, very important. These are things that I've had to learn over the years recently. Living in Florida, God has elevated me. And so I used to be a doormat, a people pleaser, and all of these different things. And so as I navigate through my new lifestyle and the things that I'm doing for myself and speaking my mind, people are falling away because they don't like the fact that you have a different mindset and that you won't accept some of the things that they want to do or say or act on your behalf. And so if you don't say anything, you are part of the problem. So I am here to share with you I am learning and navigating. And this is difficult. When I tell you that we avoid trying to have awkward moments, we avoid it because it's just easier just to let it go. But let me just tell you, when you finally find your voice, you make a choice to speak up, just know that it doesn't feel good at first, but eventually it gets easier. Okay. So learning to set boundaries is can be rough. We need to move away from the people pleasing mindset. So, letting those dictate what's wrong, what's right for us. You know what I mean? And letting them prioritize our needs or our thoughts or the things that we're going through. you know Everybody needs boundaries. There are some things that I believe in that I don't want to partake in. I don't want to talk about, I don't want to deal with. And so my healthy boundaries is that I don't want to hear it. Unfortunately, there are some things I don't want to hear. There's some things that I don't want to do. There's some things that I don't want to participate in. And so me voicing myself is my way of standing up for me and who I am. And everybody needs to have that. So here I am sharing it with y'all. And this is difficult because I'm dealing with a situation right now with a good friend, and she's mad at me because I set a boundary with her. And the thing of it is I had to. Because if I'm doing something and I'm feeling some kind of way about it, I have to speak on it. That does not take away my love and my care, my friendship for her, but it empowers me as a person to set forth things that I don't like or things that I don't, necessarily want to deal with. And so if you don't have boundaries, people will treat you however they want you. There's no rules, there's no guidance, there's no guidelines. They can touch you and ask intrusive questions. They can yell at you, they can be mad at you, they can call you in the middle of the night. I had this lady, we're no longer friends, but man, she was a boundary stomper, you guys. She would call me, text me, and then if I would put my phone on do not disturb, this is because I don't sleep well at night. And she was like, do you have your phone on do not disturb? I'm like, yes, and so we kind of stopped talking because she was so intrusive in my life. And it's like, okay, I need to back away from that. I never got an opportunity. I told her, my boundaries, and we slowly kind of stopped being friends. And unfortunately, people are so used to you just going with the flow of life. They don't want to hear, you could talk to somebody for 20 years and then you give them one boundary and they stop talking to you. What are you supposed to do? But I will tell you, why do we feel guilty when we set boundaries? Guilt is a feeling or a belief that you're doing something wrong. And I'm going to tell you something. It feels wrong sometimes it feels wrong when you're telling somebody that you don't want to hear something or that you don't want to do something or no, you can't do that. You feel wrong, but guilt causes problems. It's an obstacle in itself, and it's an obstacle within ourselves. It's not about that person that you gave the boundary. It's about you feeling guilty about the boundary, So we feel guilty because we think boundaries are mean. And that other person thinks it's mean. They think you're being mean and hateful and nasty. And then they guilt trip you. Well, why? Why are you doing this? This and that, blah, they get mad at you. They feel that you're being wrong or selfish because you set a boundary. You say what you mean what you say. And so who has told you that it was wrong? So inside of yourself, that guilt that you're feeling, it wasn't wrong. It's not being selfish. Who has shown you that your boundary is wrong? So it's important to remember that others may resist your boundaries, but that doesn't mean that it's wrong or selfish. That's their own opinion, and it's not fact. Often we lack our own boundaries that enable others to take advantage of us. We lack the boundaries because we will allow them to take advantage of us or whatever the case is. And so I can tell you that I've done it many times, and I'm rolling my eyes, as this person's doing this, and I'm like, you ain't gonna say nothing? No. Why not? You don't want to make them mad. And they know that. So they continue. So you don't want to make them mad. So you lack those boundaries. And those people take advantage of you material wise, financial wise, conversation wise, life wise, just all kinds of things. And so we have to start standing up for ourselves. And that's what we have to do. It's unfortunate that so many people are people pleasers and we are doormats. And I didn't even know what a boundary was before I moved to Florida, y'all, to be honest. I've had so many people stepping on my boundaries over the years, and I felt so much resentment, and I felt bad because I let it happen. I was too scared to stand up for myself. But let me tell y'all something. When you finally get there, it's amazing self-care. And I refuse ever in my life to compromise who I am as a person for anybody else. My children, my family, my mother, my brother, my sister, my whoever. It doesn't matter, my significant other. Boundaries are a form of self-care. Someone needs to take care of themselves in order to be healthy and happy and productive and compassionate. You can challenge your guilty feelings, but see if they're warranted by asking yourself some questions. But for the most part, is it really wrong for me to say this, such and such to this person, or me to do this versus what this person wanted me to do? Do I believe that it is wrong, or is this someone else's belief? So, asking these different questions for yourself just to think through, is this boundary wrong? Would I tell a friend that it's wrong to do such and such? You know, when I talk about a boundary, like just a conversational boundary, there's things that I don't want to discuss, or there's things about life that I don't want to talk about. And my boundary is, and many times I wouldn't say anything. I'll just sit there. And then, finally being able to express myself, but, feeling bad. Do I just sit there and listen to it over and over and over, or do I say something and, stop it? Well, it stopped. Also, the friendship stopped. What do you do? So I can tolerate someone being displeased with me if I'm doing what's best for me. And that's the question that I had to ask myself, So what are some tips of setting boundaries without guilt? So it's very important that you be able to set boundaries and not feel bad. So boundaries are not selfish. Boundaries strengthen relationships. So for example, children feel safe and secure when their parents set clear boundaries. That's important in your dynamic of life. Kids, wife, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever it is, intimate relationships. It causes fewer frictions if you let them know, set it up front. But when you've gone through a process of connecting with somebody and there's no boundaries, and then you provide one, that can be devastating for that person or for you. But I would respect someone if someone tells me that I don't want to talk about that, or I don't want to do that, or I don't want to go there, or I don't know, I can't do this. I respect that boundary. It may be something that I don't like, but I respect it because that's coming from them. They're expressing their emotions. So I respect that, So setting boundaries is good for you, You're less likely to feel guilty if you remember that everybody has and needs to set boundaries in a healthy way. It's very important. So it's just like choosing to eat healthy, having healthy choices. So life is, it's important. So setting a boundary for your mental and physical health is no different than choosing vegetables versus a donut. It's a life choice, so you have to tune into your needs. So nearly impossible to set boundaries and practice self-care if you don't know what you need. So tuning into your thoughts, your feelings, your body, will help you to do that. So how do I feel right now? What do I need? Having a better sense of how you feel, what you need, it will be easier for your boundaries. So, but you have to practice, because it's important that you build a skill set, so you have a better, easier chance of sharing that boundary with other people. And be kind to yourself. Trying to take care of yourself and learn new skills is hard work. Deprogramming yourself from being a doormat, being a people pleaser, and being, people are afraid of conflict. So they don't want to say anything. They just kind of be quiet and sit there like, rolling their eyes. I don't want to hear this. Why, I don't like this. This makes me feel some kind of way. And so until you learn how to share your self-care, which is part of your boundary, you'll continue to keep going into this pattern of just silence and letting people walk over you with the things that you don't want to deal with, or don't want to hear, or don't want to do, and you do it out of obligation. And then, and I always say, you never do anything out of obligation. You do it out of love, and so that's very important. So as we talk about setting boundaries, you're going to make somebody mad. You're going to make them angry. You're going to piss them off. So some people, and I, including myself, setting boundaries is really scary because people will yell at you. They will argue with you. They will make you feel guilty. Some people may act like a bully, or they might cross your boundary even more by saying other things to you, or doing other things to you, or not caring what you say, or arguing with you about, your boundary, whatever it is, because there are some people that don't have respect for you. They're disrespectful, or and it's unfortunately that sometimes you have to draw a line in the sand. And that's unfortunate. So it isn't to say that we're helpless out here, but in some cases, when boundaries are crossed, we allow it, like we'll tell somebody slowly about our boundary. And then when they get mad and they get loud, because people will get loud and they'll overtalk you. And so that's kind of a bullying situation. And so sometimes we just kind of back away from it and say, okay, and then try to ignore it like it didn't happen. Because as children, we may have learned to allow it, which I know I have. And then you feel helpless, and then that person, that boundary crosser, that's just what they do. So as an adult, unless the situation is extreme, we will participate in allowing people to violate our boundaries on a regular basis. We become scared. So I remember a few years ago when somebody wanted me to make a major change in my plans in order to be accommodating to their plans. Oh, this has happened to me so many times. My plans have been in place for months. They decided upon themselves. When I suggested that we reach a compromise by changing our prospective plan slightly, the other person totally freaked out. Suddenly, it wasn't about the plans anymore. The words came far and furious, hitting me in the chest like a barricade of a machine gun. I was a control freak. I was selfish. I was mean. I was unreasonable. And so when I tell you, people want you to flip, flop, flam on them, and they don't want to compromise at all. They want you to compromise. It's really sad, because seriously, all I have done was seriously just suggest a compromise. And that person tried to intimidate me. At one point I had to either imply that I would insist on my way, or either insist on the compromise I suggested. So you have to stand up for yourself. If they don't want to compromise, then it's done. So you do your plans and let them do their plans. And unfortunately, people will stop talking to you for less, So sometimes your heart pounds. It's really scary, because you're trying to stand up for yourself. And then sometimes you'll back off, you'll kind of be like, okay, and let them do their stuff. And I remember thinking about that, letting them, okay, fine, we'll just do what you want. And so you have to stand up for yourself. If you've had plans in place and this other person has plans in place, if they don't want to compromise, then you tell them, go ahead and do your plans and I'll do my plans, and that's it. So you have to learn how to enforce your boundaries in a positive way. And it gets better and better each time you do it. It's almost like when you say no. People think when you say no, you have to give an explanation of no. But no is its own explanation. And do you know how hard it was for me to say no in my life? It was a lot. And so now it's so easy. It just rolls off my tongue, but it's taken me a long time to get here. And sometimes you feel powerless to express your anger and how you feel about the way the person treated you. So it's well known that bullies keep boundaryless people in line with anger. That's not true. I don't know what is. So find angry people very scary for some reason. It's just, it's just rough. You back off because somebody's mad, but guess what? I'm not backing off from my boundaries. These are something that we used to do, and now we're doing better. So the first thing you need to do to learn is that the person who is angry at you for setting boundaries is the one with the problem. They have the problem. And maintaining your boundaries is good for other people. It will help them to learn what their family origin taught them and how to respect people. So don't let anger be a cue for you to do something. People without boundaries respond automatically to anger of others. I'm not going to respond to your anger. I'm going to empower myself to be inactive. I'm not going to lose control. I'm not going to use those cues of your anger to make me angry. I am allowing myself to step back from that situation and do what I need to do for me that's going to help be good for me. And so it's amazing that all we need to do is do nothing to develop awareness of of their overwhelming desire to fix the situation. And instead of staying inside the storm, just do nothing. Don't do anything. Let them be angry all by themselves. You know, uh, it's easy for me to sit here and say this, but I can tell you, as a person that is going through this right now, actively right now in my life, it's hard. Because people who let people walk all over them tend to stay in abusive relationships. People who don't know how to set boundaries can be easily provoked with anger from someone else and become angry as well. And then if you both are angry and yelling and screaming, nobody can hear each other. So it's very important that you have an understanding as far as, setting boundaries. But also, it's not on you about that person who is angry. It's not on you, it's on them. They have to deal with that situation. That's completely up to them. It's not up to you. So, but I know that each and every one of you can relate to this in some kind of way, shape, form, and fashion. There are some people that know how to set their boundaries, and I'm so proud of you. So there are some popular mistakes that can cause boundary setting to fail. So, we can set the boundaries, but when you set the boundary, these are things that can cause your boundary to fail. So telling people what they should do or not do is why they're wrong. So this can create resistance and struggle. So trying to change or manage the other person is not likely to be well received. So in order to be successful, we have to look at our own patterns of behavior, the problematic behavior of ourselves. So most people don't like to be told what to do or what they're doing wrong, or they may not be able to stop. So the thing of it is, setting a boundary, but without saying what they did wrong, just tell them, I don't want to do this or whatever, and then be done with it. That's not in my DNA. I can't do that. So, poor timing, reacting to someone's anger or frustration in the heat of the moment when you're at your wit's end. So, sometimes that can be a trigger. It can escalate the situation. So, being able to control yourself and process the information, and, sometimes you got to step away from that person and limit your exposure, to let them calm down in order to receive that message from you. So I will tell you that it's really hard for me. It's really, really hard for me to deal with somebody being mad at me in real time. Like if you're on the phone or in person and you give that person a boundary, it's hard for me to see them angry. And so I'm an avoider. I will avoid someone. I will avoid you, because I don't want to deal with your angriness, and because I don't want to be set off and be angry. Like I said, I admit I'm still a work in progress. So dealing with a toxic person can be emotionally draining and mentally exhausting. As a person who is sick and been disabled for my whole life, it's hard for me to deal with the emotional draining and the exhausting mental anguish that I feel from that person, And so for me, I'm just trying to navigate, the newness in my life as far as, navigating of the boundaries that I feel from individual people. And so it's important that we understand where we're at in this situation and respecting ourselves, so Sometimes people will make themselves out to be the victim. They'll give you the silent treatment. I'm dealing with that right now too. People try to charm you. There's all kinds of stuff that can happen in this situation. There's many things that you can do, that people will do. They'll try to turn other people against you. They'll try to verbally abuse you. They'll try to make you feel guilty. They'll become overly clingy. They'll try to negotiate your boundaries with you. They make empty promises to change. They'll turn you into the bad guy. They'll become passive aggressive. They'll try to bribe you. They'll become overly critical of you. They'll try to isolate you. They'll become physically intimidated by you. They'll pretend to respect your boundaries, but continue to push them. Because if they do that and they keep pushing enough, eventually they think you'll crack. I will tell you that I've cracked many a times. Many, many, many times. So when I tell you that setting a boundary is the first step, but there's many freaking steps between the boundary and reinforcing the boundary. So the toxic person and how they react, it can be exhausting. It's very crucial to your well-being to not allow them to manipulate you or use destructive reactions to that toxic person, because they might try to guilt trip you, gaslight you, even turn others against you. But understanding all these different tactics that I just shared with you will protect yourself and you break free of their influence. So this is really all I have to say about boundaries. And I hope that something I said helps you to navigate through the process of learning about boundaries and learn how to set them in your life. Excuse me. Because this whole new lifestyle that I have for myself, being able to say no, that's something new. Setting boundaries is something new. Not being a doormat is something that I've been dealing with my whole life, and I'm no longer that. People pleasing tendencies. I'm done being that way. I'm still a person of compassion, of love, of treating people with respect. But if it is stepping on my boundaries and the type of sickness and disability I have, stress can kill me. Right now, I have pain in my neck all the time, in my back all the time. And so I am actively working mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually to live a peaceful lifestyle. And part of my peaceful lifestyle is setting boundaries and letting people know where I am in my life and what I will accept and what I won't accept. And unfortunately, people don't like that. And so we have to continue to keep reinforcing ourselves and what we're doing and making sure that we're checking ourselves and that we're doing what we need to do as individuals so that we can be better people in the long run. So I'm just sharing, my motivational moments that I've had, the epiphanies that I've had, the things that I've gone through in my life and the things I'm going through right now actively. I'm going to give you an example of a situation from start to finish, and then I'm going to let you go. But this is a story. This story is about a lady that I met about a year and a half ago. I've only met her once, twice actually. I was going to volunteer at her nursing facility, assisted nursing facility before Donna died. And I did not end up working there because Donna passed away. Well, me and her remained friends. She would say she's a motivational speaker. She would share positivity, different things. We didn't talk very often, but we were on Facebook together. And, I am the type of person that I will reach out to people here and there. And she would reach out periodically. But what I saw and the patterns that I saw from her, and I probably would have never seen these patterns from other people in my past, but recently God has given me more insight on myself. And so I was able to see more. And so when I tell you that the conversations were always about her relationship, the toxic relationship with her daughter, the positive relationship with her son, her toxic relationship with her job, and her her trying to find new jobs, not liking where she worked, the toxic relationships with people on her job, her feelings because she was sick and going through. And so I can acknowledge and recognize some of the things that she was going through because I was sick as well. Very rarely did we ever see each other. We saw each other one time because I invited her out to the casino. I paid for her to have dinner at the casino because I knew that she, I didn't get out much and I was having company. And so, it was trying because I wasn't sure if she was going to show up or not. It was one of those kind of situations where I would see videos of her and her daughter together at Disney, her and her friends out to dinner, but she never asked me to go anywhere, except right before we stopped being friends. So watching the patterns of behavior, I started feeling like I was being drained by her because it was always toxicity. The one time I did call her and I wanted somebody to talk to about a situation, I couldn't even express myself because she took over the conversation. She's at work. She's going through this, her daughter, this, and that. When she got done, she was like, well, I got to go. So I never even was able to say what I had to say to her because of that situation. She rushed me off the phone after she said, she trauma dumped on me and then hung up. And I let her know. I didn't, I tried to call you because I had something that I wanted to talk to you about and you took over the conversation, blah, blah, blah. So that was one, and then we didn't talk very often, but I remember her looking for a job and I got a resume and I would send her jobs and different stuff like that. These are small acts of kindness from me. She asked me to look at her resume. I did. These are small acts that I did. I might not have helped her get her job, but I did do small acts of kindness to try to assist in whatever way I can because that's the type of person I am. But I will say that after we went out to dinner and we sat in the bar at the casino New Year's Eve and talked to a couple, we had a good time, never really talked to her much after that except one time. And her daughter they were going through a toxic situation. Her daughter's 16. And she told me something and I said something back and she started getting loud and yelling at me. And I got off the phone. I was like, that is unacceptable behavior. I am not going to argue with you. I am not going to let you get angry with me. I'm not going to let you raise your voice at me. I'm not doing that. So for her to feel comfortable enough to be able to raise her voice at me because she's sharing with me about her toxicity with her daughter and the things that they're going through, you're not going to yell at me. So I had to remove myself from that situation. And I'm like, that's unacceptable behavior. I didn't say anything else. But I will tell you, the last time I talked to her, like actually talked to her on a text message, she invited me to go to the beach with her. And I said, okay, cool. Let me know when you're going. She waited till 20 minutes before she was going to the beach to let me know she was going another day. It wasn't the same day. It was like a couple of days later. Well, that's rude. That's disrespectful, especially when you know somebody has chronic illness and it takes time for them to mentally prepare to go somewhere to do something. You didn't even give me time enough to process. And so, no, I'm not going. But I did explain, you don't do that. You tell somebody, you give them time, and she made all kinds of excuses. And that's my boundary. I need to know, I need to have adequate time. Don't wait until the last minute to tell me, because to me, that means you really wasn't expecting me to go with you. To me, it was kind of like, well, let me go ahead and tell her I'm going to go now because I don't want her to get mad when she sees a picture of me on Facebook of me at the beach. Well, at that point, I was done. I was like, this lady has been nothing but toxic to me. I've given her my boundaries. This is the second time. I don't need to say anything else to her. She's not my friend. She's not somebody that I hang out with and talk to every day. I may talk to her a few times a year. We may say good morning. We may say happy Mother's Day or happy holiday, Merry Christmas, but we didn't have a relationship in that regard. So she had two. Now, let me tell you something. My close friends that are in my life and been there for years and forever, I've never had to give them a boundary or tell them any of those things. So for somebody that I've known for a year and a half, and I've told you two different boundaries and situations, and I've expressed myself. But let me tell y'all, this lady has some nerve. I deleted her phone number right after the situation with the beach. Pretty much done. Soon I was just like, I'm done. I don't need to tell her anything. I'm done. Because for me, I don't need to um I don't need to have closure. I'm done. Our friend, we didn't have a friendship. You were trauma dumping on me all the time, and I got tired of it. And the only time something positive happened, and then also I forgot about this. She got a new job. She's telling me about all these different people at her old job and what happened here and what happened there and the people this and the people that. But when she got a new job, it was a secret. She never shared anything. And that's her. That's on her. But I realized that everything that came from her to me was negative. It was trauma dumping. There was nothing positive coming back to me. So I cut the cord quietly. And then she texted me on Mother's Day, but I didn't know it was her because I had deleted her contact information. And then she messaged back and said, "Well, you didn't say anything about in Mother's Day." And I was like, "Well, I don't even know who this is. I'm blocking this number because I don't know who it is." And at that point, I'm pretty sure I knew it was her, but I wasn't sure. Well, I posted something on Facebook that was positive, and she left a really snarky message, and I blocked her. I deleted her message, and then she came into my Facebook Messenger talking crap. And I told her, I said, I said, "You got some nerve coming on my Facebook doing this, this, and this." And I went on about my business. I blocked her. And then she went to Instagram. Argumentative spirit now, y'all. Argumentative spirit, trying to make me feel guilty, but that's what happens to people when you give them boundaries. If it's out loud boundaries or if it's silent boundaries. I gave her boundaries without saying a word. And I said, "You know what? You need to stop. You're stalking me now because you're going from one. Wait a minute. Oh, yeah, I forgot about this on Facebook. She got more than one Facebook profile. So I blocked one. She went to the other. That is stalker behavior. So people will go to the extreme to stomp on your boundaries, baby. This lady went through a public post to two profiles to an Instagram. I'm blocking her all over the place. What in the world is wrong with you, lady? When somebody says no, or somebody they ain't talking to you, you walk away gracefully. You don't argue with them about what they did or didn't do. That's not your place. I pray for this woman because she is sickly. And I will say that when I was sickly, I had some negative, toxic behaviors in me that I had to work through myself. And so I pray for her. I don't want nothing bad to happen to this woman. But the toxicity that her and her daughter have is only going to escalate. If y'all only know the stuff, and I'm not going to go into it, but it's going to escalate. Her daughter's 16. So boundaries, people that are pissed off and mad will stomp all over them and don't care. And you have to stand your ground. And sometimes you will lose friendships, kinships, relationships, situationships, because people don't. And that's where the abuse, verbal and physical abuse will come out. The manipulation, the guilt tripping, all that stuff will come out. And it's okay. That's their problem, not yours. Don't make their problem your problem. So with all of that being said, I hope something I said resonates with you. I hope that you're working on your boundaries like I am. I hope that you're not letting people guilt trip you and make you feel bad. I hope that that you can stay the course, because it's important to stay the course. Because if you keep letting your guard down after you're given a boundary and you let it slide, they know that if I keep going, if I keep doing this, eventually she's going to break. He's going to break. So stand strong, my brothers and sisters. Stand strong. I love y'all. Have an amazing, wonderful, awesome day. I hope that, that you have a wonderful week. I am headed to Kansas City on Thursday for 2 weeks. I can't wait. I'm going to go see my family for 2 weeks. No working this time. First time in years. I always went home and I was working and stayed home and worked and stayed home. This time I'm actually on vacation for 2 weeks and I will be back. I don't know that I will be on next Sunday. I probably will not. And if I do, I'll probably do some live streams here and there throughout the week, but I don't know that I will be on next Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time or 5 o'clock specific time. Central Time. But if not, I will come back the following week. When I come back home, I will make sure that I share some of my pictures and some of my experiences at home, the positivity, the love and light. And then I'm pretty sure there's going to be some toxic stuff too. So I'll have to tell y'all how I dealt with that as well. So being transparent. So I will see y'all in the next video. Love you. Bye.